Welcome back, everybody. So, Harry, it's great to have you back. It was great seeing you at the conference in February. So thank you for joining us today.
Brad, great to see you again. Thanks for having me. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah. And hey, Jeff, I'm just the bio. It's thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you. We have in our NutriButler program, we had a pharmacy that when before they started NutriButler, they were doing $1,000 a month in supplements. And then 6 months later, they were doing 10 times that. They were doing $10,000 a month in supplements. And I was so amazed by that. And I've told that story so many times. And then I read your bio, and you were doing 10 times that, $100,000 a month in supplements. So I can't wait to delve into that. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking your time.
That's my pleasure.
So before we jump into that exciting story, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about, the relationship here at RMS. I mean, this program is not about plugging products or companies, but it is important to understand the relationship that with RMS and orthomolecular products, because I met Harry at a conference years ago, and I was so excited because for a long time I have been wanting to, at the point of sale, provide information to the patient, because I think that, that is where you are interacting. I wanted to be able to provide information to the patient and make these drug-induced nutrient depletion recommendations right there when you're talking to them. And so Orthomolecular had a program, and we worked together to create Digital Replete. And that was our first foray into what we now call NutriButler. And we had some success with that, but it never happens as fast as we want. So anyway, that's kind of how we got started. Today, we have lots of customers doing NutriButler with orthomolecular products. As many of you are aware, we also work with TRC Healthcare, which is not a manufacturer that we, because we're really all about drug-induced nutrient depletion. So I'm going to focus our attention on that. Harry's going to talk a little bit about orthomolecular and their digital replete program, which is great. So let's get started. We have talked about this brief history. I don't understand why any pharmacy wouldn't be doing drug-induced nutrient depletion recommendations. I know there's no one-size-fits-all in pharmacy, and we have all of these things to do. But let's just start there. Why do it, I guess, let's say that.
Well, Brad, when I think about something like that, it's, we're pharmacists, and we're there to help our patients, right? Especially when we're dispensing our medications, we're offering our patients any and every information that we can about that medication, about the good things, also about some of the challenges, okay? And if there are some potential challenges, we need to let our patients make them aware of this, right? If there's a drug-induced nutrient depletion, we need to let them know about it. And it's amazing how many of the common medications that we dispense every day, and who's telling our patients about drug-induced nutrient depletion? The physician more than likely isn't doing it, and many of the pharmacies aren't doing it. So I'm right there with you in advocating, and I wave that flag every day. Every day, we should be talking about that as a pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist, been one for over 25 years, and this is something I'm very passionate about. We need to offer them that basic information, make them a very reasonable recommendation. Then and only then can our patients make an educated decision about their health. If I don't tell them about it, Mrs. Jones is going to walk around with those sore legs or that tired feeling from taking those statins. I need to mention that to her and offer her a solution to either avoid or alleviate that. That's sort of how I look at it, Brad.
Sure. Jeff, you were going to add?
Yeah. So for me, it's education and then education. So the first part of the education is that for me, I'm old, but when I went through college, I wasn't taught about drug-induced nutritional depletion. And so because it wasn't in my sphere of knowledge, I never made recommendations about it. And then I was lucky enough to see James Laval talk about this. Gosh, it was 20 plus years ago. And it made sense. So I started looking at the data and realized that, it's basically most of the top 200 drugs that we dispense as pharmacists can cause drug-induced nutritional depletions. And that really hit me right between the eyes. And what it said to me, so there was the missing part of my education, and then I was missing out on educating my patients. And so what I had to do is take my business plan and actually change my process of what I do. Instead of holding onto a phone and counting by fives, I went from filling scripts to actually being an educator. And like Harry said, my entire career was about empowering my patients to make really smart choices about their health. And what I found is if I gave them all the information, lo and behold, people want to be healthy. That's why they're coming to us in the first place. But they have to get all the information. And that takes a little bit of, self-education on my part, and then setting up my business practice to go ahead so I have the time to talk to my patients. So that's my piece about that.
Well, and that's, I think when you look at the pharmacy profession, of course, it's constantly every year, it's in the top 3 most trusted professions, usually number 1, but with firefighters and doctors, I believe not doctors, but firefighters and nurses. Yes. And are the top 3. So utilizing that trust. And then at an independent level versus a chain level, first, the chains aren't doing this, but at the independent level, you've created this relationship, at least in most independents that I've ever walked into. And so, the very first tenet of climb is caring. And to me, this is what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I will tell you, when someone comes in and they have a Coq10 deficiency and they're sore every day, and the way I look at it down the road is that we're preventing, high blood pressure and congestive heart failure. But let's just take the patient that's sore every day and we go ahead and replete that CoQ10, and then they can be active. So, so they can actually get out and exercise and do the things that they want to do. That type of relationship building is unbelievable. They are a patient for life. And then they go tell their physician, and now you have that relationship that expands also. In our pharmacy, our advertising budget was less than 1/10% of our annual budget. And the reason why is because it was all word of mouth. And we averaged 3 to 6 referrals a day, 3 to 6 new patients a day, which is, there's no way you can buy advertising that creates people walking in your door. And that's just what you said, Brad. It's developing those relationships, the trusting relationship that we can build on as pharmacists.
Yeah. Go ahead, Harry.
When we talk to our patients about drug-induced nutrient depletion, for example, just by doing that, having a conversation with our patients about a potential challenge, that distinguishes us as independent pharmacists. As you mentioned, Brad, they're not doing that at the big box pharmacies. So just that service, what I call should be a basic service that we offer our patients, that distinguishes our pharmacy from the big box. Okay, when our patient takes our recommendation and they notice that difference, their enhanced health. Again, like Jeff said, they're going to start talking to people about that. But again, that distinguishes your pharmacy. Okay, so you can't really put a dollar value on the value of that. For your pharmacy. But as you mentioned, Brad, it's about caring. I'm a pharmacist. I went into pharmacy to help my patients. I really didn't get into it to count fives and, sets of 5 pills and hand those out to my patients. I really wanted to help my patients. So that's really a first reason. So again, I want to help my patients by giving them that information. But that distinguishes my pharmacy as well, and it also enhances front-end sales when you have those types of conversations as well. Your patient is better off, my business is better off. It's an absolute win-win situation, right?
Yeah, one of the things I hear when when we talk about it, and I ask pharmacists this all the time, when they're not doing any of the clinical services, or if they're just doing a handful of clinical services, a couple of them, what's your biggest, why aren't you doing this? And the word I hear all the time, the answer is always the same: time. Time. So what do you say how do you respond to that in this case? I know how I'd respond, but I want to hear what you say.
There's a couple different things. Time is, it truly is that, a finite resource that we have. But what do you want to spend your time doing? That's the thing. Do you want to spend your time calling insurance companies, chasing pennies, looking for the cheapest price for the generic drug from the, wholesalers? Is that where you want to spend your time? And does it serve not only your patients, but does it serve your business? Are you creating a sustainable business practice by chasing pennies? Or do you want to spend your time, and it takes a little bit of work. You change the focus of your business to educating your patients, creating those deep relationships. And then, Harry and I have talked about this. We created, I started this program 20 years ago at least. And it can take 30 seconds to talk to a patient. And if you're already doing some type of medicine management process, it can be plugged right into that, and it takes 30 seconds. Now, I will tell you from my experience, once you get famous about doing this, then I spent all day, every day out on my floor talking to my patients. And I was able, because we were doing, I think we maxed out at $120,000 in nutrient sales per month. But that allowed me and my business to hire people to stand behind me to take care of the things so I could go out and grow the business. So it's a commitment, but it's a choice. How do you want to spend your time? What you got, Harry?
Brad, if you put together tools and you organize your operation, then it really doesn't take as much time either. I mean, that's why, we help the pharmacies create things like bag tags. Okay, we help them, think about how they're going to talk to the patients. We will educate the staff so that it is a very quick, comfortable conversation. But if you have all of those things in place, it is a quick 15-second conversation about Mrs. Jones, and her statin medication, or Mrs. Jones and her metformin, or Mr. Smith and his, antibiotic. It really is a simple thing to do. But if you put your ducks in a row and you make this part of your operations, those are the successful pharmacies that make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's interesting because when you're doing, 1.2 to 1.4 million a year in just these sales, and the margins, of course, are 40 to 50%, right? So, I mean, you're adding so much to your bottom line. So yeah, I think the whole time problem really, as you mentioned, goes away. I mean, it really is about where do I want to spend my time, and you're educating patients on how to be better, how to be more healthy.
Yes.
So to me, I think to anybody listening to this, that makes complete sense. But there's always that that I think there's this fear, and I always go back to when you go to Best Buy, and immediately every single time they're trying to upsell you on something, it's just like, stop, leave me alone. And I think that's where the fear comes from. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I can't stress this enough. When I got out of school, I was, I was a kid, and I was maybe a pharmacist for a week. And this woman walked up to me and she says, "Hey, I got this baby and he's got a stuffy nose. What do I do?" And I said, "Hey, here's some drops, use these drops 3 times a day." And she said, "Oh, thank you very much." And she walked away. And I thought, oh, crud, they're going to do what I tell them to do. It's like what I told him was right, but I really got to be on my A game. And so I've never forgotten that. And the hardest thing for a lot of pharmacists to do is to get past the idea that they're upselling, that they're selling their patients something. They're not. They're making a medical recommendation that the patient physically needs to live a happy, healthy life. That's it. It's not selling. Are you making a recommendation? Would you ever think that somebody walks in and says, "I have a headache," and you walk over and grab the ibuprofen and hand them and say, "Take 2 of these 3 times a day"? Would that ever be, would you ever think of that as selling? Well, the reality is that the body doesn't actually need ibuprofen, but the body really needs all the vitamins. That's what we run on, is vitamins. We don't run on Prilosec and Pepcid, and but we do run on vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C. And so
Sure.
These are even more natural, real recommendations than we could ever make. So I got past that, and my staff, I just learned one nutrient at a time, and was able to talk intelligently and give. The only way I will ever make a recommendation, because I'm ethical, is because you or your body needs it, period. That's it.
And Brad, this is a big bugaboo of mine, the fear thing. It really is, it is simple to do, but number one, the fear is I don't know this stuff and, this information. I went to pharmacy school. They didn't teach me this stuff. That's why, for example, on our team, we've got folks who educate the pharmacy, who educate the staff to help them understand and know enough. That's why we've got the tools to help them deliver that, that information. But we have to, get over that or get through that. But
Sure.
In regards to the upsell, again, this is not a sell. We should be giving our patients information, offer information and solutions to help them alleviate some challenges. Then and only then can our patient make an educated decision about their health. That's how I look at it. And if we could really help our teams understand that this isn't a 2-for-1. This isn't a buy one, get one free. This is Mrs. Jones. Your body is depleted of a very important nutrient, CoQ10. That's what makes energy in every one of our cells. When we're depleted of that important nutrient, we can't make that energy. That's why we're tired. That's why we may have muscle aches. That's why I always recommend CoQ10 to all my patients who take a statin. Something that simple, Brad. I just gave her information, right? That's what we should be doing.
And that this is not related to drug-induced nutrient depletion, but it is a story. I think you'll understand the tie-in here. So I suffer for allergy season every year, and I went. This was probably 10 years ago. I was at a trade show, and we just happened to be right next to the booth for the people that sell the neti pot, and so I'm listening to this guy pitch the neti pot to pharmacists, and he gave me one at the end of the show. I told him about it, and he gave me one, and I took it home and I used it. Now I used to overdose myself on cold and flu formula contact and NyQuil, and just was because it's so miserable. The postnasal drip, it's just horrid. I'd be eating cough drops all day and all night, and just trying to get some sleep. and I used the neti pot, and I haven't taken NyQuil or cough drop since over the last 10 years. When I get this, this allergy stuff, because it just cleans everything out. So I said to my dad, now, for those that have listened to Zoom or to Climb for a long time, you know that I grew up in a family of pharmacists and have been around the industry my whole life. So I told my dad about this. Said, you ever, you sell these? Have you ever talked about these? No, I mean, we have them, but I never talk about them. I told him the story. So he started telling his patients about it. And every one of them came back in and thanked him and thanked him and thanked him over and over for turning them on to this. So it really is about, it wasn't selling. He wasn't selling at all, right? He was just giving them information, which both of you just talked about. And I think it's so important because we do listen. We do listen to the expertise of the pharmacist, and having the information to make the decision is so key. So using you're caring, the fact that you're such a trusted professional is just so key. And then, and then the profits come to the bottom line as a result of that. So we've talked about, one of the reasons is fear of just upselling, feeling like you're upselling. But another one I know I hear a lot is, I just don't know anything about these things. I can't recommend something I don't know anything about. So, Harry, you mentioned that you provide education. So let's delve into this a little bit more. How do we overcome this fear? And obviously it's education, but how do we do this?
Well, the way we work with a lot of our customers is we'll set up an implementation plan. And part of that is, the front end of that is education. Okay, CoQ10. Please, read this particular material and then watch this video. We've got a series of videos. We've got these webinar recordings. Please watch this, read this, watch this, and then your rep is going to come in and do a live education, okay? So it gives you all of that information that you and your team needs, okay? And then we help them understand, how can this work in your operation? Okay. Again, that's the education. We've also got, some excellent resources, just things, something like this. This is an awesome book by Dr. Williams, Supplementing Dietary Nutrients. This is something I have on my shelf. Okay. But this is also another great resource for when you do get those additional questions about these B vitamins, about this vitamin D, this, about, CoQ10, that. These types of resources are also very helpful, but that's how that's how I recommend, going at it. You talked about your one RMS customer who got up to $10,000 a month in sales. He started just reading our product information sheets. That's all he did before our rep was really knowing that he was doing this. And that's how he started. It is that simple. Is just take it upon yourself, read a little bit, but our team also really helps push that along through your pharmacy, one small bite at a time. I don't recommend you taking this on for 50, 60, types of nutrients all at once. Take one bite at a time. Take one or two drug categories at a time, and then move on to your next. That's how I recommend it, and it works out great for the successful pharmacies.
Yeah, that's really important, Harry. When I go in and I do, consulting for pharmacies and pharmacy chains, and oftentimes the reality is many of us as pharmacists are kind of right at the edge of overwhelm, right? We're just so darn busy. And so the idea of becoming a nutrient expert, it just, is overwhelming for folks. And so that's what we do. We go in and say, hey, just what Harry said, let's look at this month. You talk about, we'll just stay with this one, CoQ10 for statin drugs and beta blockers and some of the diabetic drugs. There's a few very popular drugs that cause CoQ10 deficiencies. And you in that month, you become an expert on one nutrient, period. And you just talk about that. And then the second month you can add, B12 with metformin. And you understand the mechanism of the depletion. And then you understand what B12 does in the body. And you understand how cruddy you feel and what happens to the body if you don't have enough B12. That's it. I mean, that's how we learn as pharmacists, right? And you just do it one piece at a time. The beauty of this, I mean, if you think about the business end of that, is that if they start taking CoQ10, it's those residual sales. They'll keep coming back and buying the CoQ10. And if you're talking about CoQ10 every month, those residual sales just continue to grow and grow and grow. And then you add the B vitamins, and then you just slowly add. But you've never lost those patients on the CoQ10 at the first month. And so just like John, all of a sudden you go from $1,000 a month to $10,000 a month. Well, that's $60,000 of profit a year. That's two technicians. I mean, all of a sudden you can hire two people to stand behind you and do all the stuff you used to do. And yeah, you got to go check scripts and stuff like that. But then you can get out on the floor. Because now you have that business model that's sustainable.
Right. Well, and you just made me think of a great enhancement for our NutriButler by actually being able to say, I only want to be recommending CoQ10 this month, and now I'm adding vitamin B, B12, whatever, yep. and allowing our system to help you with this education piece. So, yes. So we'll be seeing that soon. Not to talk about our product, but so one of the other barriers that I hear often is cost to customers. Oh, I can't do this. My customers won't do it because it's too expensive. They've already scraping by to just get the drugs. And so how do you respond to that?
Yeah. So, there's a few ways to respond to it. It's like, how much does a heart attack cost? Right? I mean, what's the actual cost of congestive heart failure if you're low in CoQ10? But what we've found is that, for my patients, the vast majority of my patients, and I typically had, if you were my patient, because my patients came to me to get better, right? We kind of flipped pharmacy on its head. I'm known as the pharmacist that dislikes drugs, right? So our patients came to us to get better. What we found is with the basic 5 nutrients that the body needs to actually heal and feel good. Now we can add, specialty items to help their adrenal glands or their thyroid gland, but typically they don't stay on those their entire life. But just 5 basics, you're looking at, somewhere between, $250 to $350, $2.50 to $3.50 a day. That's, a fancy bottle of water. That's less than the cup of coffee that they're getting. And so, and it's certainly less than the packs of cigarettes that they're buying every day, right? So the reality is it's $100 a month, something like that. Now, for that said, we had kind of a better, a good, better, best level of nutrients. And for the folks that absolutely could not afford it, they're at poverty level. We had nutrients that they could have. And I will tell you, this is something we don't talk much about, but at our pharmacy, because our business model was so strong, we never turned anybody away. If someone was desolately poor because of the profit situation for our business, we just gave them the inexpensive nutrients. And same with Medicaid prescriptions. We never turned anybody away because we could afford to do that. But the big thing is really stopping and going, what's the actual cost? And just taking a minute to talk to the patient, say, where are you spending your money? And how do you want to spend your money? And again, it's about what we've been talking about. It's taking a moment to educate and then giving them the choice on how they want to live their life.
Brad, when I look at this, when I hear that question, I'll get on my horse again. Shame on us for spending our patients' money. I want my patients to get better, and I want to offer them, the quality products that are going to get them there. Again, I'll use an example that a pharmacy who was, started at 1,000 and got up to 10,000. He used to talk about, if you're going to take that, chain brand of a vitamin, you're really not going to get what you want. You might as well just flush that down the toilet. That's why I'm recommending these professional grade dietary supplements. I mean, that's how serious he was about this, because he knew it made a difference. You're not going
Sure.
He wants you to get rid of those challenges. He wants to offer you something that he or she believes will do that. And more likely than not, it's not going to be, this versus that. And that's how I sort of look at that. We've got examples of, pharmacies in counties that median income is, I think, $35,000 annual income. She started doing MTMs. In her MTMs, medication therapy management conversations with her patients, again, she's got their whole profile. She started talking about drug-induced nutrient depletions with these patients. And she started, she made the recommendations for the quality dietary supplements because she wanted her patients who were dead tired, who couldn't go to work because of this challenge and this challenge. She wanted it to help them. She made those recommendations for the quality dietary supplements. And again, she's selling over $2,000-3,000 a month in dietary supplements in that type of an environment. And I've got numerous examples of that. So please, we shouldn't be holding information back from patients because of their financial status. We need to give them that information, make a good solid recommendation to avoid that or alleviate that challenge. Then and only then will they be able to make an educated decision about their health, right?
Yeah. And if I could just add on real quickly, Brad, a couple of things. One, my store's in Peoria, Illinois. It's a blue collar town surrounded by farms, right? And we're doing $120,000 a month in sales. So I wasn't in Beverly Hills, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was right in the middle of blue collar factory and farmer folks. And the other thing I think that really is what changed the game for us is, again, it's switching from being a dispenser to being an educator. I made my employees, but really all of my patients, baby biochemists. So I told them exactly why I wanted them to take a quality fish oil. And I had a very precise little spiel as far as talking to them and educating them of why good fish oil is great for you, because it's made in every, we use omega-3 fatty acids in every cell of our body. Doesn't matter whether it's skin cell, eyeball cell, brain cell. And when we build those cells with really good fatty acids, those cells talk better to one another. They communicate, they last longer. There's less inflammation between the cells. Or you can get cruddy, fish oil, which is full of, PCBs, right? So that's part of the spiel. And it takes about 1 minute. And they go, oh, now I can make a choice on what I want to spend my money on.
Sure.
So that's really the piece is education. Let them make the choice. Give them the information. Let them make the choice. And again, I can't tell you, people want to be healthy. They want to see their kids and their grandkids grow up. They want to be active. They want to be in love and loving. And all that has to do with how their body feels.
So there were about 10 things that I wanted to ask about after this, but one thing that came to mind and is, the idea here to me, one of the ideas here to me is that helping the patient feel better when they're taking these meds will encourage them to continue to be compliant with taking their meds. How did that look to you, Jeff? I mean, you were doing this massive amount of this. So you've got at least some good anecdotal evidence here.
Absolutely. Well, by the end of that part of my career, I was sitting at a consultation table all day, every day, 4 days a week, doing consultations with my patients because my practice just changed. My patients needed that. But what we found is that, patients come in because they're sick. And then we have the conversation. I had technicians instead of clerks. Again, that's one of the things that we did. And so we started having conversations about how you want to live your life and how you want to feel. And we're like, stay on your meds. Let's start doing this. And then we'll talk to your physician, and we'll use the combination of patient, pharmacist, and physician, that triad, to de-prescribe with the physician, if you wish. Is that what you're looking for? And they're like, absolutely. I didn't know I didn't have to have type 2 diabetes the rest of my life. I didn't know I didn't have to have high blood pressure and high cholesterol the rest of my life. You mean I can get young again? I was like, yeah, I can't make you 25, but you don't have to be sick anymore, And so then they get absolutely enthralled about their own health, and they become highly motivated. And that's what we did all day long. And that's how we created, we have 50 at our one store, we had 50,000 active patients. I mean, that's ginormous.
Yeah,
right?
that's insane.
That's 10 pharmacies. And, I'm like, to my wife, I was like, we ought to start another pharmacy. She's like, stop right there. But that's what happens is exactly what you said, is that people get they start to become active participants in their own health. So they stay more compliant taking their meds, but they become educated and start talking to us and their physicians about, hey, how do I not take these all the time? And
sure.
And it's like, yeah, get closer to your ideal body weight, and let's see what happens. And let's start exercising and see what happens. And lo and behold, the vast majority of them got better.
So, and that takes me to the next step, or my next question. And not everybody has our POS system, unfortunately. So not everybody get these recommendations right there at the till. And obviously, Jeff, you did this without our solution, and we're very successful. And it was years before we even had this solution.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's start with just the average independent pharmacy that isn't even doing maybe is doing some medication therapy management, disease state management stuff at this stage of the game. Where do you see them? Where would you recommend them getting started?
Brad, this is an awesome place for pharmacies to start talking about nutrition, about health, about wellness. Drug-induced nutrient depletion. That is a very classic, easy way to get into this, okay? Many of us have these, vitamins on our shelves, but we don't really talk about it. We just sell them, okay? This is I always see drug-induced nutrient depletion as an awesome first step into enhancing your conversations with your patients about health and wellness and around nutrition. And it's really just about, learning it, putting together the tools and operationalizing it. And that is really why we created that Replete program, Brad. And that's why we worked with RMS to develop the digital Replete program. But in the Replete program, again, it's the whole deal. It's education, okay? Helping your team understand and feel comfortable about having these conversations, whether it's about methyl B complex, whether it's about CoQ10, whether it's about vitamin D, whether it's about zinc. We need to understand some of the basics, okay? And then putting together some of the tools, like I talked about, whether it's, bag tags, or whether it's getting them hooked up into the, RMS, automated system. Those are tools to help us, make us aware that that there's a drug-induced nutrient depletion, and then to have a quick and easy conversation with our patient, okay? That's what these tools, are all about. We have other tools, again, just to help create awareness. These are just countertop signs, things like that. Create awareness in our store. Again, distinguishing us from your regular pharmacy. These are all the things that are part of this, that are part of the program. And then we help you implement it and help you operationalize it, making it into your day-to-day operations. Okay. And that's really how I recommend, however you go about it, put a plan together to implement this, but it should include education, tools to have those conversations, and then a way to operationalize it. But this is a great first step into this nutrition, health, and wellness space for many, many of these successful pharmacies. Like you talked about, one pharmacist started at $1,000 a month, and he's up to over 10. That's exactly how he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's the biggest thing that I talk to pharmacists about is what we talked about before is start slow, pick one. And even if you don't have the point of sale or you don't have the program from Ortho Molecular, how many statin prescriptions do you dispense in a day? Right? It's pretty simple. And we know there are some really big nutritional deficiencies, drug-induced that we all know about. And so it's just pick one. But the reality is Ortho came to me and said, hey, how the heck are you selling $100,000 worth of vitamins? Would you help us with this? And this is the program we put together. So what I did in my pharmacy was I did a little bit of extra work. I would pick a drug class. This is how I did it before any of this, 20 plus years ago, before any of this was realized. I would do a little bit of research. And this was back in the day where I'd have to go to the library, right? There was virtually no internet back then. And then I would, I would pick a drug category and talk to them for a month or two. And then I just would add on. It's not hard. You have to get out of your box. If what you do is this all day, doing more of that isn't going to make you successful. It just won't. I read this writing on the wall 25 years ago. It was like, yeah, profits are going down. My time is getting thinner. This is not going to get better. So how do I create a new business model where it's an absolute win-win? I can really affect patient outcomes and be able to, care for my employees, right? This is another care, not just about our patients, but our employees. So our employees were the best paid, most supported, not overworked, because we could afford all those things because the business model allowed us to do that. Now, were we overworked and underpaid at the beginning? Yes. For me, 100-hour weeks, got it down, can do. But it was with the idea that eventually we were gonna work smarter and not harder, and then be able to support our staff. I had physicians and chiropractors come to me and ask for jobs because of what we were doing in our community, how many people we were helping in our community. And I said, thank you, but you're a little bit overqualified. But we did have nurses on staff, right? And we didn't have clerks. All the people standing at cash registers were full on, absolutely top of the line technicians. So that's what this can offer for our patients. Starting out talking one drug class, right?
Yeah, I was going to say it didn't start that way though, but that's where you can end, and that's so exciting, right? Yeah. So, well, gentlemen, I don't know if you see this. So there's this pesky. I'm in the Northwest, and there's this pesky thing called the sun that came out, and and where I'm standing, that's why I've been hiding over in the corner here. As you can see, so I've got to pick a new place to do this recording in the future. I really appreciate your thoughts. We're basically we're running out of time here, so I'll give each of you another moment if you have a parting shot, a parting thought here. So Harry, do you have anything else to add?
I'll give you some of my passion. We need to be getting out from behind the counter, and we need to be talking to our patients. We need to be helping our patients. Drug-induced nutrient depletion is an easy way of doing it in any pharmacy environment, whether you're a compounding pharmacy, whether you're a classic independent pharmacy. If you've dabbled with this in the past, I highly recommend get your things together again, get your ducks in a row, and take another shot at this. This drug-induced nutrient depletion is a great place to start, a great place to grow, and it's amazing how things can go from there. It's been great, Brad.
Yeah, that's right. If I can help you make the shift from here to here, just stop and watch your patients walk in and out of your pharmacy door and notice them limping and notice them breathing hard and using canes. The reality is our patients come to us because they're sick, but they don't know they can get better. And I believe it's our moral and ethical duty to give them the information, to let them know that they don't have to be sick the rest of their life. They don't have to do this long, slow slog through their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You can live an amazing, healthy life all the way. We all got to go home at some point in time, but the reality is that they can live absolutely vivacious lives. And we have that information. We're the biochemists. We're the ones that know. The doctors don't know. The nurses don't know. We know. So we can use all that wonderful information that we got and give it to our patients and let them make the best medical choices for themselves.
Amen.
Absolutely. I was thinking about one of my dear friends who's also been on Climb a number of times. He's a motivational speaker. Many have seen at conferences, Giovanni Livera. And one of the things he always talks about is he just says, no change, no change. If you don't change, nothing's going to change. And I think that's so important for pharmacies to recognize. I know that they do know that, but sometimes we know it and we still don't do anything about it. And so this is just a great opportunity. I agree, Harry. Such a great opportunity to get that conversation started into deeper dive into health in health and wellness. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for all of this information. Jeff, congratulations on, what a massive success. And I'm so happy you're sharing all of this information. Karen will be putting up a slide with contact information, Harry, so that people can reach out to you that are interested in orthomolecular products and training and so forth. So once again, gentlemen, hope to have you back on Climb down the road. Thanks again and have a terrific day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care.